So I'm seeing some rhetoric being shared on social media of this glorified image or this this glorified depiction of Dr. King during the civil rights movement doing peaceful protest. And using that as an example, I will summarize how I perceived that imagery and information. That see Dr. King, see the way they did it. It was peaceful and the right way to do it. And that what's happening now is the wrong way. They should be modeling what Dr. King did, because what's happening now is violent and Dr. King did it peacefully. And I think that we need to set some things very straight about those peaceful protests, that it was a tactic, and it was a tactic to demonstrate the violent systems we existed. So the performance or the protest or the activity in itself was quote unquote peaceful in the way they were trained to do their marches, do their sit-ins, but it in no way was a peaceful movement. Dr. King was not being welcomed to sit at tables to have discourse and dialogue so that we can see each other. And white people were not perceptive at all to conversation. There was nothing that could be said to stimulate change just through discourse and dialogue at all. So this wasn't a, whatever glorified image you think the civil rights movement was, you need to study the history and you need to watch all of the video footage and not just the video footage you get during Black History Month or on Dr. King's birthday when they're walking down Edmund Bridge and they're holding hands and they're singing their old-timey gospel songs and everybody is, you thinking it's kumbaya, and white people were on the other side like, there you go. No, it was a very violent civil rights movement because it was a tactic. They saw that there was value in the new system of televised media. And they knew that the camera was a great tool to document America's hidden secret of racist systems within their criminal justice system and within their economics. They knew that there was an opportunity to use the camera to show to the entire world how bad America really was and how violent America really is against people of color and Black people. So they peacefully would march knowing that it would incite violence. And the only time Dr. King ever failed was in Albany, Georgia, because the chief of police at that time studied his book, read the book on Gandhi, and said, well, they're not going to trap me. I'm not going to respond violently to them. And that was you can read about that. Dr. King talks about how he failed, and that's how he ended up in Birmingham, where he ended up, and he was failing in Birmingham too. But the only good thing that came out of that process is he got a letter from a bunch of clergy telling them to wait and saying the same thing some of y'all are saying, we should just talk it out. And that's where you get Dr. King's response from the letter from a Birmingham jail telling them it's no time to wait, the time is now. They're not sitting around. So this idea that it was a peaceful time and Dr. King knew the peaceful techniques to get through this, y'all got to get it straight. The 50s, the civil rights movement was a violent time because as these people went into peacefully protest, they knew it would incite violent behavior from police, from shops, when they would peacefully sit in a diner that was segregated, they knew they were going to get beat. And so you had these students from SNCC, the SNCC organization, teachers. This is what tenure really is. You had professors teaching young Black children in college campuses how to deal with being spat on and punched in the face or hauled away by a police officer while they would peacefully sit in at a segregated cafe, because the tactic was to showcase the violent nature of white supremacy. So I want y'all to stop playing this game that Dr. King was just this wonderful rhetoric of a man, this man who just knew how to preach, and all the white people were like, that's the dude. The only reason why white people speak of him positively now is because he's dead. They did not like him at that time, and they were violent towards him and everybody that was participating in the civil rights movement. He was constantly threatened for his life, and let us not forget the fact that he was violently murdered. Okay? And he talks about the fact that changing unjust laws are not going to go through just manners. It's going to take some different kind of behaviors. So don't get it twisted. Fighting for your rights, fighting for your justice, and fighting for your restoration it's not kumbaya holding hands. You got to speak up and let people know what you need and what you want and how you want to be recognized as a human. So please do not get it twisted with this stuff that you're seeing out here. Study the true history and not this glorified image that honestly white America has curated about who Dr. King is and telling you what you should think Dr. King is. You read up on who that man really was, and you'll learn to not put him on a pedestal because, number one, he was human. Number two, he did great things. And number three, he was a peaceful protester trying to let y'all know, try to demonstrate the violent nature of white supremacy, which is very violent. So in those peaceful protests, and the man he mirrored it after, Gandhi, don't forget what they did. All right. They were peacefully protesting in India and got murdered in the streets. So it was a very violent act. Don't get it twisted.